You touched upon the Supreme Court there, and I see you've been very vocal in the past couple of weeks since the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsberg as to the what it is and what it means for Trump to be attempting to nominate a successor before the election, given that he may not win said election. For our viewers and listeners, what do they need to know in terms of what's important about this Supreme Court process? What was important about Ruth Bader Ginsberg, and the extent to which this impacts the next 4 years and indeed beyond?
Well, the important thing to remember about what's happened here with regard to the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsberg, she was a remarkable woman who championed the rights of all Americans, particularly women's rights. Some people might be familiar with her career through a variety of outlets. There was a movie that came out with Felicity Jones on the basis of sex, which was a biopic of her life. There was also the RBG documentary which came out, which was a very it was a flattering portrayal, but also a very accurate portrayal, I think, of Ruth Bader Ginsburg's life. She has become only the first woman and the first Jew to lie in state in the United States Capitol. But something which hasn't been openly remarked upon, certainly here, and I don't know whether it's made news across the pond at all, is that this isn't a passing that received universal bipartisan respect. She did not lie, for example, as many political figures have done, in repose in the central point of the United States Capitol, under the dome. Some people may have seen, for example, the bodies of late American presidents lying in repose under the Senate dome, on the catafalque, for example, that was used to carry the body of Abraham Lincoln after his assassination. That would have required a joint House and Senate resolution to allow that to happen. And the Senate wasn't prepared to provide that, instead of which her body lay in the part of the House of Representatives that's controlled, in this case, by Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats. On the day of that resting in peace, the Republican leadership refused to attend. Mitch McConnell was not there. His deputies were not there. I acknowledge that Donald Trump went to a viewing of the casket when it was lying in state at the Supreme Court, and was widely heckled by the crowd which had gathered outside at that occasion. But certainly her passing has caused a lot of people to reflect upon her life and her career, to also acknowledge the fact that she was on the bench for some 27 years. She was nominated by Bill Clinton in his first year in office. And that, I think, gives you an indication of just how influential the ability to nominate a Supreme Court justice is. It's something I've always tried to stress when I've been teaching this in classes. Donald Trump has, it must be said, acknowledged time and time again that I think he was quite surprised to learn that one of the great powers an American president has is the ability to nominate someone to the bench, because they will be on that court for a very long time after you have left the presidency. Ruth Bader Ginsburg was nominated in 1993. Bill Clinton left office in January 2001. We're now in 2020, some 19 years after Bill Clinton left office, 27 years after first taking the bench, and only now is Ruth Bader Ginsburg no longer on the Supreme Court. So that gives you an idea about how long Donald Trump's appointees to the bench could end up serving. We're in 2020. She could be on the bench in 2050. So that gives you an indication about how long Donald Trump's political legacy is going to last, irrespective of whether he's re-elected in November. The passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg came up in the debate last night, and certainly Joe Biden was trying to say that it should be the next president who decides who it is that will replace her on the Supreme Court. President Trump rightly reminded him that Donald Trump was elected for a 4-year term in office, not a 3.5-year term in office, and that he remains president irrespective of the vote until noon on January 20th, 2021. Now, that's fine. No problem. That is constitutionally correct. It is Donald Trump's right to nominate a successor to Ruth Bader Ginsburg. It is also the right of the Senate Majority Leader, in this case Mitch McConnell, to decide whether to hold hearings into Donald Trump's nominee, and for the Senate ultimately to decide whether to confirm or to reject his nominee. The reason this has become contentious is nothing to do with anything I've just said, because that's how the Constitution plays out. This is contentious because of what happened 4 years ago. 4 years ago, there was also an opening on the Supreme Court when there was a death of a Supreme Court Justice Anton Scalia, who died, allowing then President Barack Obama the opportunity to nominate a new replacement for that seat. He nominated a chap called Merrick Garland, who was a judge in America, and that should have led to hearings in the Senate, and again, a decision by the full Senate to either approve or reject President Obama's nomination for the Supreme Court. Now, let's be honest about it. The Senate does not need to approve a presidential nomination to the Supreme Court. It is fully within its rights to reject it. However, the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, decided in 2016 that this was now too close to the presidential election, and he denied floor time in the Senate for Barack Obama's nominee to even have a hearing, let alone a vote, arguing with some 11 months to go before the election, it should be up to the next president, who he obviously was betting would be Donald Trump. Because obviously at that point, everybody figured that Hillary Clinton would win. But Mitch McConnell played the long game there and won by refusing to allow Barack Obama's nominee to even have a hearing. Quite frankly, at the time, I thought it was very poor politics, because what could have been done is that Mitch McConnell could have said, yeah, sure, we'll have hearings, given Barack Obama, his candidates, his day in the sun effectively, and then voted on a straight line basis to deny Barack Obama's nominee for the Supreme Court. But by not having hearings at all, he set up the possibility now for the Republicans to be quite rightly accused of hypocrisy by saying, oh, well, it's Barack Obama, forget that, we're now Donald Trump. Their argument now, by the way, you're saying, well, how are they getting around this without just reversing themselves? They're now saying, oh, well, it's because we control both the House and, the presidency and the Senate. We control both the nominating process and the confirmation process. Therefore, we can move this forward. That's very different from where we were some years ago, when there was a Democrat running the White House and we had the Senate, as though that really changes the dynamics. It's rank hypocrisy, and it's an outrageous about face by people including Lindsey Graham, for example, who is now chairing the Senate Judiciary Committee, who said himself 4 years ago, look, we shouldn't be having this hearing under these kind of circumstances, and if we're in the same situation 4 years later on with a Republican president, I would take the same approach, and you can quote me. Well, of course, people are quoting him, and he doesn't have a straight answer.
I don't recall whether you and I have just discussed this in person or whether we did it on one of the previous chronicles, but the notion that came up again in last night's debate that the leaving Obama administration had left, is it 125 or 128 seats on the Supreme Court open to be filled, presumably under the presumption that Hillary would be coming to power, and therefore that wouldn't be an issue. That was Trump's angle of it with Biden. To what extent is that true or otherwise, please?
So one of the challenges here, of course, is that every politician will see things from their own angle. Yes, there were openings waiting for Donald Trump to fill when he took office. It's not necessarily just the Democrats' fault. Don't forget, these candidates have to be confirmed. I'm always trying to be very, very mindful of the use of language. And on several occasions in interviews, I've had to correct interviewers who've talked about the president making an appointment to the Supreme Court. The president does no such thing. The president nominates candidates to the bench. That is what the presidential power is. They can name whoever they want. I would point out, by the way, also, there is no requirement for a president to name a sitting judge who is on the bench somewhere else at a lower level to the Supreme Court. Donald Trump could name, I don't know, Jared Kushner. He could name anybody he wanted. There is no requirement in the Constitution that says someone on the Supreme Court has to have a legal background, has to have a law degree. They could choose anybody, quite frankly. This is one of the reasons why nominees have been rejected in the past. Some have been rejected by members of the president's own party because they felt that the nominee wasn't adequately qualified. That happened to George W. Bush when faced with a Republican Senate. And yet, one of the things we need to consider, I think, is the right language here. Yes, Barack Obama left vacancies, but in large part, that was because the Republican-controlled Senate simply wasn't confirming his nominees to those lower courts, opening up the vacancies, basically pursuing a distinct policy, which Mitch McConnell, as Senate Majority Leader, is renowned for, which is trying to fulfill a requirement to get as many Republican nominees onto the benches as possible. He managed to do that most notably by refusing to allow hearings for Barack Obama's most prominent judicial nominee for the Supreme Court, but also doing it at a lower level so that the subsequent Republican president, in this case Donald Trump, could get to fill those positions on the bench. It demonstrates, I think, for once and for all, the great differences between the judiciary here in the United States and back home, and the separation of politics and justice, which simply doesn't happen here. Justice is politicized in the United States.